What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we're taking a look at Blissey control. I know that we have been looking at a lot of control decks lately, but with the nature of this week's theme being control based, I figured I would get them out of the way now. That way it's a week of no attacking rather than, you guys having spontaneous videos of stall decks that don't attack. But with the essence of Blissey, you have the enriching egg attack. Heal all damage from one of your bench Pokemon. So the reason why this is good is because Blissey has 200 HP. Most of the time that's a hard number for a lot of decks to hit unless they have unlimited damage output or they're Lugia. A lot of decks do have the ability to hit it realistically, but they need power modifiers, things like that. So with Blissey and attaching a tool like the, where is it? There's so many things. Pot Helmet, you essentially put yourself at 230. Which is a very awkward number for things to hit. When it comes to Lugia, they only hit 220. When it comes to Mew, they need 2 power modifiers in order to KO you, so that's just for getting a single prize. So the essence behind this deck is that you get out a Decidueye EX with the Total Freedom ability. Once during your turn, you may use this ability. If this Pokemon's on your bench, you switch it with your active Pokemon. And if it's in the active, you switch it with your bench. So you get one of those Decidueyes out, you switch it to the active. You have Big Air Balloon, you have a Blissey that takes an attack. Pretty much all you do all game is cycle between Blisseys using the Enriching Egg, and you heal all the damage. So your opponent gets no prizes, they mill themselves with resources. It's very tough for them to deal with. We are also playing Formidable, as it does have the Trigger Avalanche, where you can discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. We have Luxray in order to strip your opponent of resources in their hand, and you also have Pidgeot EX to be able to search. The essence behind this deck is like every stall deck. Use the Team Yell's Cheer with Silene and the Palpad engine. And pretty much it just works how you want it to. I know stall decks are kind of boring. I don't have the most fun making them, but they are a part of the meta, so I figured I wanted to showcase them. That way you guys could see in case you play against them. And Mouse's hair sending my allergies sideways. But here's the deck list now so that you guys have a full clean view of it, and the deck list will also be in the description so that way you guys can copy and paste it into Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. Also, I wanted to say thank you guys for all of the constant love and support. Things have been really fun lately, and I've been really enjoying making content. We have surpassed 700 subs, and all of you are amazing. You truly do make this playing Pokemon and making content thing a lot of fun. And I think this is the most fun I've had in the 10 plus years of playing Pokemon that I have had. So if you guys are new here, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. If you have a friend that's trying to get into Pokemon, send them this channel, share the video. We are beginner friendly, intermediate friendly, and advanced friendly. So anything that you guys can think of, comment down below, and I will try to answer questions, whether it be, deck lists, why things work the way they do, or how, I got into Pokemon, just anything you guys are curious about. Feel like sharing and being more one-on-one with you guys. So again, thank you for all the love and support, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Later. Alrighty guys, so we're into playing Decidueye control, or it's Blissey control. I'm gonna call it Decidueye control because the main portion of what makes the deck work is really Decidueye. So as long as we're not playing against something that has unlimited damage output, we should be okay. And we actually have a rare candy Decidueye, which is good. And we have a start with Rotom, which I don't hate. So, we'll see what we're playing against. So we're playing against a Greninja deck, I want to assume. So, as long as my opponent can't hit massive amounts of damage, we should be a-okay. We can get the Rowlet down. We have Arven for Battle VIP Pass, which is good. We have the Penny in hand. So, this is actually a starting hand that I am, perfectly content with. So, my opponent's playing Palafin. I don't think that Palafin can hit enough to take a one-shot, especially if I put a choice, not choice belt, a, something on here, so. Okay, so we have a Chansey prized, which is a bit awkward. We have one Blissey prized as well, so, I think, honestly, it's not the end of the world. We have the one Battle VIP Pass, which is okay. So, I don't think things are looking too bad. So, we'll go Arven, we'll get the Battle VIP Pass, and then we'll also get the I'm going to risk it and grab the Force Seal Stone. And then off of this, we can grab the Pidgey. Honestly, I could have grabbed Nest Ball, but, you know, using this is actually probably better for me. So we'll go Pidgey. And then we'll go Force Seal Stone. And I'm going to use it right now because with it, that means that I can grab the Hisuian Heavy Ball, which is not in here because I'm blind. Make sure you pay attention to those. So, okay, we're going to have to grab Peonia, so that way next turn we have access to it. And we're just going to have to put Decidueye in the active, and then just hope that my opponent can't take a knockout that way. So, we do have the Rare Candy Pidgeot, which means that we can Rare Candy next turn into the Decidueye, which isn't bad. So, I don't hate that. And then Decidueye can actually buy us a turn. Then we can use the Peonia, so that way we can kind of thin through some more of what we need. So assuming that, you know, we get the board that we want, we should be okay. And I'm going to look at 3 prizes. So assuming that I hit Heavy Ball, I'm fine. And if I hit the Chansey, I'm fine. But the only issue is that I need the Blissey too, but I do have Sharon's Care for that, so as long as I can potentially loop the Sharon's Care, I should be okay. It's just going to come down to what, you know, my opponent can do. So my opponent just passes, which is fine. Most of the time, that's probably what they're going to do. So we'll use the Peonia. We'll look at prizes 1, 2, and 3. And we actually get everything that we need. So we can get rid of the Nest Ball. I'm not really going to need Iono, and I don't think I'm going to need Path to the Peak. So we can put down the Chansey. Evolve into the Blissey, Rare Candy into the Pidgeot, attach the Luminous Energy, we can go Quick Search. Quick Search can grab us the other Rare Candy, and now we're in business to really start setting up how we want to. So we can go Rare Candy into the Decidueye, which means now we can use the Total Freedom, bring it to the active, and then now we can use the Instant Charge. And next turn we have Penny to be able to pick up the Rotom. We can Decidueye, get out of the active. So everything's looking pretty good. We have the Balloon too, which makes things a lot easier. So, and if my opponent just keeps passing, you know, it's gonna be a long game, but it's definitely not looking too bad. So this is the most optimal board that we want because the Decidueye lets us basically switch in and then retreat into a different Blissey, and we can just let the Blisseys take hits back and forth, which means that we can just heal endlessly, providing that my opponent has a fixed amount of damage output. And Mouse just kicked me in the chest. So we do get a Rare Candy. We're not really going to need that, so I think what we can do is just use the Pidgeot with Quick Search. This will allow us to grab the Balloon, just so that way we have it. Actually, you know what? We can grab Arven, because Arven will let us grab 2. So, grab the Arven, and then with the Arven, we can then grab Ultra Ball, and we can grab the Balloon, which means now what we can do is go Balloon, Decidueye, Ultra Ball, get rid of the Nest Ball, and I'll get rid of the Jet. I don't think my opponent's going to play Path. Then we'll get the Blissey out, which means now we can just get the lock going. The only other thing that I could potentially use is the Lucky Energy, just because it means that I can get some free draws off, but we'll use Total Freedom or Retreat, whichever. We'll just go into Blissey. We'll attach to this Blissey and just use Instant Charge. And eventually, as long as we have the Silene in the deck, the Teamio's Cheer, and the Pelpad, we'll be able to keep the loop going as much as we need to. So, my opponent might not do a whole lot during this game, but it definitely is going to be able to showcase, you know, the aspects of us and setting up what we want. So, there's a lady, so my opponent gets to search their deck for up to 4 basic energy. So my opponent is starting to do some things this turn, which is good for them. It means that they get to play Pokemon. So my opponent goes for the Retreat, goes for the Valiant Evolution, And I can actually remember what Palafin does now. So let's see. So Palafin does 210. So I am going to need actually I don't need anything. I can just switch between Decidueye and really anything else. So that's actually not bad. I think what we'll do though is just Bravery Charm, just to get it out of my hand so I don't have to deal with it. Then we'll use the Total Freedom, use the Pidgeots, which will allow us to check the deck just to make sure everything we need is there. So we have the Teemios Cheer, we have the Silene, and we have the Pelpad. So everything we need is good there. We also have the Calamitous Wasteland, so we can actually Calamitous Wasteland lock my opponent, which means that they need extra energy to retreat. So we can go the Calamitous Wasteland. And from here, we can just use the instant charge again. And then next turn, you know, after a while, we can Penny, start bringing back some things that we need and go from there. So again, we're not doing too much. The most attack we're going to be doing is the Enriching Egg, which heals all the damage. So it will be a little bit awkward because Palafin can hit 210, which is enough to KO a Blissey. I don't think that there's any way for us to fully, you know, deal with that. So I think that's going to be just the awkward part. Otherwise, I think we should be okay. We also have Sharon's Care, so I mean, it's not the end of the world. My opponent does have to continuously switch too. So let's see. I really don't think that there's anything we can really do. I think we just have to hope that, you know, my opponent doesn't get much going. I mean, we do have access to Luxray if we need to, and we do have access to Crab, which can allow us to, you know, put my opponent in an awkward spot, but considering the fact that this does literally 210 and we have no way to reduce the damage from it, it's gonna be a little bit tricky. So there's another Palafin coming out. I think Sharon's Care is definitely going to play a big role, or Penny. Because I can Sharon's Care loop the Pidgeot. So providing that I get another Pidgey down, I can, you know, make some use of that. But I think that's what I might have to do. I might have to just Sharon's Care loop. So my opponent's going to hit for the 210, which is expected. So there's the Justice Kick for 210. Thankfully, you know, they won't be able to do it again. They do have a high retreat cost as well. So, let's see. I think what we do is Ultra Ball. We'll get rid of the Luxray and the Rotom. Let's see. I need to just spin as much as possible, honestly. So we'll grab the Crab. And then what we can do is just retreat. We can go into Blissey. And I don't think it's going to be too bad if my opponent goes 30-30. So I think what I got to do is just use the instant charge right now. They're not going to be able to take a KO. And I just have to make sure that I can continuously, you know, loop around and do what I need to do. They're not going to hit 210. The most they can do is 30-30, and I can survive that for a while. So, and we do have access to Sharon's Care as well. So next turn, if we wanted to, we could Sharon's Care, go from there. So, it's not looking too bad though. There's a Frogadier coming out, so it does have the Strafe attack. So it can switch if they don't evolve it into Greninja. But thankfully with Calamitous Wasteland, things aren't looking, you know, too bad. My opponent's probably going to go 30-30, which is fine. I don't hate that. And then if we have to, we can actually boss Tatsugiri. So. And actually with boss's orders, we can stop my opponent from actually being able to attack with Palafin. So if they, you know, use the Valiant Evolution, evolve, we can actually boss it up to where they don't get access to the 210, which works out in our favor. So I don't hate the idea of doing that either. Mouse is laying on here, kicking me. Oh, man. So my opponent's figuring out who they want to put up. I don't really think that there's a good choice for them to put up. They could put up Frogadier, but they decide to go for the Tatsugiri. Which, I mean, I guess I understand, but I don't think it's going to be too good for them. And we don't have to do any type of special healing next turn. And we can even get out another Rowlet, just so that way we can make sure that we have the ability to have two Decidueye out, just in case we need it, so. Because I need to make sure that I can thin my deck as much as possible, and then we can go from there. And as long as we hit one heads on a Silene, we'll be able to keep the loop going for quite a few turns. So, and my opponent just fails the search, so I don't hate that. We have access to Worker, which is nice. So I think what we'll do is just Worker, draw 3. We do get the water energy, so there actually is the ability for us to be able to stall out my opponent. So I think what we'll do, let's see, I can draw a few more cards, so I don't hate that. So we'll go Pidgeot again. We can pull some cards out of the deck that we don't need. So let's go with a Rowlet, and we can bench the Rowlet, and then we can just use the instant charge. And it's going to be a long game because my opponent's not really doing a whole lot, but, you know, we're just going to sit here until my opponent decks out, and we're just going to keep our loop going. There's not really too much that they're going to be able to do, so. And we do have access to Sharon's Care as well. So next turn, we'll look at 5 cards, then we'll end up with 2. And then end up with 1. There's Irida. My opponent playing the Tatsugiri. Not too sure what they're going to grab with this Irida. I guess we'll find out. Considering they attached an energy to the active, I don't think they're attacking with Palafin this turn, which is fine. So they grabbed Seismitoad, and I wasn't able to see what the next card was, but it's not the end of the world. So there's Time Pull. So my opponent's playing a water-themed deck. So there's the Mice in place. So they get to search their deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to one of their basic Pokemon. And as long as we're just going to use Silene this turn. Actually, we'll use Silene next turn. So we're going to look at 1. Grab with Pidgeot, draw 3. That'll put us at 2. So we can actually get quite a few cards going in our turn, so I don't hate that. So we'll just use the Quick Search now. Quick Search can grab us the Silene. And then we have the ability to use Instant Charge with Rotom. This is going to put us to 2 cards in deck. And then next turn, we will use the Silene just to potentially put some cards back. I don't really think that there's going to be too much that we need. We kind of have everything that we want in our hand right now, so. And next turn I'll make sure to rare candy into the Decidueye as well. We could actually put back the Peonia and the Silene with the Palpad, because Peonia means that we can look at the other 3 prizes, so that way we can actually, find some things that we want. And we do have access to Crab as well, so if we lock something in the active, we can actually potentially mill my opponent, so I don't hate the idea of that either. So let's see. Is there anything else that I need to do this turn? I don't think there is. I think right now, honestly, I think I'm just gonna go for a mill play. So let's use Total Freedom, and then we'll use Penny, pick up the Rowlet, put down the Crab, go here, we'll retreat, and then next turn we have access to the Palpad as well, so that's good. We have access to Silene as well, so we'll just use the Trigger Avalanche. And considering the fact that my opponent can't take a knockout because they only hit 210, it means Crab is basically always going to be alive, because we can just Penny Loop it and you put all of the cards back in your hand. So we'll just Penny Loop between Crab, Pidgeot, Crab, Pidgeot, Crab, Pidgeot, and then just keep milling my opponent from there. And if they don't do any damage, I'm fine with that. So next turn, let's use the Silene, go from there. So there's the Echoing Voice Seismitoad. So they can actually take a one-shot on our Crab with Seismitoad, which is a bit awkward. But it's not the end of the world. Mouse is shedding like crazy. Are you shedding? You guys want to see, he's just laying right here, just enjoying himself. So my opponent goes into Palafin, which is fine with me. I don't mind that. They don't have 2 energy on the Palafin, so they're not doing any damage. They can potentially, go 30-30, but I don't think it's going to do too much. And like I said before, we have access to the Penny Loop. So there's an energy on the Crab. So Jet Punch going 30-30. Putting damage onto the Decidueye. And we do have boss's orders as well. So honestly, what I think we're going to do this turn is we'll just go Penny, bring up the Crab. We'll put the Blissey here. I don't need to bench the Crab just yet. So what we can do is Palpad. Palpad will put back the 2 pennies. And then just to make sure that my opponent can't take any prizes, we can use the Enriching Egg. Heal all the damage, which means they have to work for a lot more next turn. And then next turn we can go Crab, Rush in, Retreat. We have access to Silene. We hit Tails. It's not the end of the world, so we're gonna be able to, get the loop going how we want to, though. It'll definitely be good. I definitely think sometimes that a second Silene might be useful, but again, as long as we just mill my opponent, we'll basically be doing what we need to do. So, and if you guys do see parts of this video sped up, it's just because turns were taking a long time, and I don't want you guys to have to sit through a 40-minute game just to see what's going on. So my opponent passes, so what we're gonna do is go Crab, attach. We'll use the Decidueye with Total Freedom in order to rush in, retreat into the Crab, and we can use the Silene. And we hit Tails and Heads, which means we can put back the Palpad. And then we can go for just a Trigger Avalanche, mill 2 cards from my opponent's deck, and just continuously do that for the next 9 turns. Assuming that, they take 9 turns to concede. We have the loop going that we need. We have the Palpad back. We have the Penny back. So any damage my opponent does to this active crab, we can just Penny it. And we have access to Palpad, which puts 2 more cards back. So we have quite a few cards that we can work with. And I don't hate how all of this is playing out. I think my opponent's a little confused on what to do. I think they're confused on the fact that I'm not attacking. So I'm quite happy with how it's going. Now, if my opponent did retreat and go into Seismitoad, it wouldn't be too bad either. So, considering the fact that, you know, my opponent's not really doing anything, I think what I'm going to do here is spice things up just a little bit. We'll bring up their Seismitoad. We'll attach the Jet Energy. And we'll use the Avalanche. And my opponent's, you know, drawing a card, getting 2 milled every turn. That's 3, so we have about 5 turns left. And my opponent can use the Seismitoad. And I actually forgot about how Quaking Zone kind of messes this up. So, they're going to hit for 120. Potentially. Quaking Zone is very annoying. Wow, I did not think about that. I definitely messed myself up. Now, if my opponent doesn't play at all, you know, that's fine. Let's see, next turn, Penny. We put back Penny and Silene. Okay, so my opponent chose not to do anything, so that's fine. You know, I'm not too upset with that. I think what I'm going to do is just boss in order to, you know, recorrect myself. So we'll bring up the Tatsugiri, and then we'll use the Palpad, and we'll put back the Silene, and I guess we'll put back the Peonia, just so that way I have some more cards I can look at. And we'll just use the Trigger Avalanche, discarding 2. And I don't, like I said, I don't think my opponent really knows what's going on. I don't think they realize that they're in a loop, but, you know, it's not too bad. It's not looking too rough for us. We do have access to Silene next turn, and if we hit Tails and can't bring back the Palpad, then the following turn we have access to Teamio's Cheer, so it just depends on if we get the Silene next turn or not. So if not, then we have to, you know, potentially wait a turn, but things aren't looking too bad for us at the moment. And with cards like Iono as well, you know, we can kind of just make it go a long time. So we get the Peonia, so that means next turn we have the Silene. I think, honestly, we'll just use a Penny now and bring up the Rotom. And yeah, I don't think that there's anything else to do. I mean, I'm, you know, just milling. That's all I'm doing to my opponent. So next turn we'll get the Silene, and then we can use the Teamio's Cheer, which means that if we flip heads, we can get back Palpad, which means if we get back Palpad, and we can bring back Teamio's Cheer and Silene, and just keep the cycle going. So there's a Calamitous Space Mountain. Snowy Mountain, not Space Mountain. I don't know why I said Space Mountain. I'm thinking of Disneyland. There's a Water Energy on the Tatsugiri. My opponent can retreat. So we're going to have to go into the Blissey next turn in order to heal the crab, which is fine. But otherwise, I don't think that there's too much my opponent's going to be able to do. They're going to be able to take a single prize, but it's not going to be enough to really do much for them. So it's all going how we need it to. So there is an energy retrieval. And we know that we're getting Silene next turn. So I could risk it and use the Silene. But I don't think I'm going to. I think what we're going to do is just use the Teamio's Cheer. We can put back the Penny. the boss's orders, I guess, and then we can put back... I don't really think there's anything else we need to put back. We could even go Luxray, just to kind of look at my opponent's hand. But I don't think that there's anything, so we'll just put those 3 back. And then we'll use the good old Russian retreat. We are going to have to attach to the Blissey in order for us to heal the crab. So we'll use the Enriching Voice, or Enriching Egg. Heal all the damage off the crab. Next turn we can grab Boss, bring up something, and then mill again, just because Quaking Zone does make things a little bit more awkward for us. So... and thankfully this Snowy Mountain didn't do a lot to us. Echoed Voice is going to be able to KO this Blissey, but I'm not too upset by it. Next turn, like I said, we're going to Boss, and then we have access to Penny and Boss again and things like that, so... there's the EXP share. Going on to Palafin. So they're going to be able to hit 220 continuously, so I'm just going to bring up the Tatsugiri and then mill, go from there, so. There's the Echoed Voice for 220, so my opponent finally gets to take a single prize card, which is insane to think about. So, we'll bring up the Crab, and we top deck the boss's orders, which is exactly what we thought we were going to get, so I will use Pidgeot just to get, let's see, I get a card now, next turn I draw the last card, then I have to hope to hit heads on Silene, so I can't grab a card just yet, but I have to. So I may have just lost myself the game. We're going to have to check. Let's see. Okay, if worst comes to worst, I have Iono. That's going to take a lot out of me and what I'm trying to do, but it's not the end of the world, I guess. So we'll just go Boss's Orders, go into the Tatsugiri, and then we'll just use the Trigger Avalanche. So my opponent's going to go to 4 cards, and then they'll be at 1 card after the next mill and the draw for turn. So as long as we get there, we should be fine. And on the very last attack, there shouldn't be too much that they can do. So a very long game indeed. And I lose next turn if I don't hit heads on Silene. So my opponent just goes for the Blissey. So there's the 210 on the Blissey. Completely fine with that. So we have Crab. Now we have to hope to hit at least 1 heads. Otherwise, we lose. So let's see what we can do. Can we hit heads? Otherwise, we lose, and all of this was for nothing. 1 heads, 2 heads. All right, we're good. So we can just put back the Team Yell's Cheer and the Palpad. We can use the Pidgeot to grab Palpad, which means we can go Palpad now. Palpad will let us grab the Silene and the boss's orders, I guess. And we'll just use the Trigger Avalanche now. And my opponent's going to draw 1 card for turn. And there's no way that they can take a knockout this turn, so we can just mill them on the next go-around, and then we are good to go. We have successfully done what we need to do. And if they play something like Iono, could be a little bit annoying, but definitely not the end of the world. So if they Iono'd, they would put 11 in, draw 4, they'd be at 7, so we would just have a couple more turns of self-milling. It'd be roughly 2 more turns of milling. So Water Energy onto the Frogadier. But there's not too much that my opponent is going to be able to do, unfortunately. They don't have a way to one-shot this Crabominable, which means that we are in the clear. My opponent goes into Seismitoad. And next turn, we're just going to use the Peonia, see what our last 3 prizes were, and go from there. My opponent getting energy back with superior energy retrieval. Getting rid of another Seismitoad and a water. Bring 4 back. Do they have something to shuffle all of that energy back? And they don't. So they're hitting 120. Which means now we get to have all of the fun we want. We'll use the Peonia. Check the last 3 prizes. The last 3 were the cards that we wanted. And let's throw salt on the wound and put back all of the cards that we got to recycle with. So there's the Trigger Avalanche, getting rid of the very last card in my opponent's deck. And we were able to win via deck out. So very stally deck indeed. Definitely is good in a best of 3 setting, as you most likely, if you can pull off the loop, be able to KO, or not KO, be able to take the first game. And because it takes so long, your opponent really isn't going to be able to do too much. And game 2 will result in time, which means because you won game 1, you're good to go. So if you guys did enjoy today's video, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Thank you for all the love and support, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Later.